So today we are happy to have this webinar that is organized by the Society of Economic Geology, and more specifically by the Early Career Committee, where we're going to be talking about how to develop a career in economic geology. So a few things before we head off. So if you have any problems with the audio, you can link through your computer speakers, but you can also use the conference line. But then for this case, please remind to use your webinar ID to be able to log in. Also, one important thing, we are really hoping to have lots of questions for you that you're going to be answered in the end. But please don't forget to do that through the Q&A button that you have in your screen. It's much easier for us to see the questions their way. In the end, you're going to have around 15 to 20 minutes for that. If you pop up on the chat, there's a chance that maybe we are not going to be able to answer that. Another really nice thing, today our panelists, they speak multiple languages. So if you don't feel comfortable with English, please feel free to do your questions in Portuguese, Spanish, or German, and we can work on that. So a little bit about the society. So the Society of Economic Geology is dedicated to advancing the science, discovery, and responsible development of mineral resources. This is our webinar, if you're not aware of that. And if you want to check more information, see a little bit about our opportunities. And I'm also including here a QR code where you can access the student committee website, as well as the early career committee, that is the one that is hosting this webinar today. So SCG is a society that is acting in over 100 countries in all the continents. We have more than 6,000 members currently. We have lots of opportunities for students, especially. We're going to be discussing some of them today. So please give a check to the membership, and you can go directly to our page to enroll for that with this QR code here. So now we are officially starting the webinar. So our main target is to explain to you how you can begin, enjoy, and succeed in the economic geology journey. And by now, you should have who asking why you decided to study geology. So I'm just confirming if that is on for all of you. So we are gonna have some introduction from our panelists soon about that, but it will be really nice to hear from you. How was your experience and why you decided at first to actually study geology? So yeah, just have our pool up. This is gonna be on for a while, and then we start our webinar. So as you see, I'm the host. I'm Angela. I'm currently the chair of the Early Career Committee for SCG, but I'm a Brazilian geologist, lived most of my life there, worked there, and nowadays I'm doing my PhD in Tasmania in the Center for Ore Deposits and Earth Science. And I'll be hosting the webinar for you. So about our outline, so we are just doing this brief introduction. So as the discussion teams, the first thing is why you actually chose geology. That's the pool that you're just popping up now. Then we are going to discuss a little bit about the experience that our panelists had on their first years after they finished the bachelor's, how they did to improve themselves on the first years, and also how SCG has helped on that. And then in the end, we have 15 to 20 minutes for interacting with you and replying to your questions. So please remember to do that through the Q&A button. So our panelists, I'm just reducing that. So our panelists for today, we have 3 members of the Early Career Committee. We have Victor, which he's a Peruvian geologist currently working for the exploration team of Anglo American in Chile. We also have Poliana. Poliana is also from Brazil and currently doing her PhD at Coates. And we have Jan, who is a German geologist also working for Anglo American exploration team. And by now, I think we can close our group and see the results. So these were the questions that you were just answering. Yeah. These are the final answers. So yeah, that's quite funny. It's Basically, the main two reasons why people decided to study geology is the same reasons why I did. So in my case, for example, I really wanted to do science and I wanted to travel and be in the outdoors. And I see that lots of people did that because of good job opportunities. And also nowadays, two people said that they want to contribute to the green energy transition, which is pretty nice. Thank you very much for that. And share results. So now we're going to finally call our panelists to talk a little bit about why they decided to study geology at first. For that one, I'm going to introduce Poliana at first. So, Polly, if you want to share a little bit why you decided to study geology with our audience.
Hello, everyone. So when I was in school, I really liked all the subjects and I really liked it how they could interact with each other. And when I was searching for what to study, what to do with my life, I decided to go for petroleum engineering. But then I talked about that with my geography teacher, and he told me, why not study geology? You can have way more areas to study. And then I started to look about what is to be study geology, and I really liked it because you get really in touch with nature, you get to go outdoors a lot, you are usually well paid, and you have a lot of options to work in a lot of places. So that was it for me. What about you, Victor?
Hey, Polly. Thank you the question, and hi everyone. I actually started with civil engineering, and that was because I thought that, well, I knew that I love sciences, but as well I was good in numbers, geometry, all these things. But then I realized very quickly that that was not for me. That was too structured for me, and I was like, no, I'm doing something wrong here. And then I was looking at some documentaries, and it was a lot about science. And to be honest, it was the volcanoes. When I was born in Ecuador, and when I was kid, I was always interested in volcanoes, basically. So I was always trying to picking up obsidians and all of these rocks, and pumice and all of this. And I was like, all right. And then I saw the documentary, and there was this scientist that they will come in helicopters just doing some field work and then maybe get paid. And I was like, all right, that was what I wanted to do. And I just switched to geology. I didn't know that I'm going to be an economic geology focus in exploration for mining, but I just went through the passion of that, of the volcanoes. And Jan, what about yourself? What is the story behind?
Yeah, hey everyone. And Poliana, Victor, these are very interesting stories of yourselves. And actually, I have a similar one to share. So I was also always really interested in natural sciences and looking for a way how to apply this in the field, as I always liked the outdoors and observing nature. Just imagine you're on a hike and you walk through mountainous terrains and you just see big folds, as you can see on one of these pictures, and you just ask yourself, how does this form? And this really triggered my passion to go deeper into the field of geology.
Yeah, that's also great, guys. And now just moving a little bit, I think you can also start this one, Victor. And
Yep.
once you decided to study geology, what was the tracks that you did for your studies? How was that part of your career?
Yeah, so actually, once I decided geology, I was in Peru. I was born in Ecuador, then I moved to Peru. And in Peru, there was just traditional universities doing geology, as is the case in many places in at least Latin America. That is, certain universities very traditional doing that. So I have to apply to the University of San Marcos, where I started in Peru, and then I got an exchange program to the University of Chile. So that was very fundamental because, as you can see on the photo there, we were doing on the first one to the left, I was able to see a lot of different other volcanoes and then rocks, and then realized that the volcanoes were connected with mineralization. And just trying to getting into I just discovered that I love minerals and structural geology. But then on the geology studies. Then I worked, but then I continue my career with a master's, and that's the photo on the bottom, at Coates as well, Australia, at the University of Tasmania. And then now I'm still there. I don't know, I haven't stopped there. Just get hooked with that and continue doing part-time PhD. So that's about my story on the studies. But what about you, Poliana? That you as well are welcome. I'm sorry, and I was not there to welcome you to University of Tasmania. But what's your story there? Yeah.
Victor is my roommate here, but I never saw him in person. So I started my studies in geology at the University of Campinas in Brazil. And it was very nice to study there because before 2015, it was a course that was for geology and geography. So we have a vertent that really worries also about society. So the first photo that I have there, it's actually in Vale do Ribeira, where you have a lot of caves and you had a lot of exploration involving lead, zinc, and a lot of society issues with the indigenous people that were there. The second picture, it's a picture that was in the prospection course in Ouro Preto. And as you know, Brazil is a gigantic place, and it was nice to be involved at the student chapter because then we got to go to a field trip in Minas Gerais with the University of Brasilia and Rio de Janeiro. That is the last picture. And besides interacting with people from other chapters, we got to see a lot of mineralizations, a little bit more from what is shown during the course. And then I worked for a while after my internship. And now I'm starting my PhD at Coates with Victor and Angela too. That's it. What about you, Ian? You went to Brazil too, right?
Yeah, I studied a little bit of geology in Brazil, but I first started my bachelor studies in Germany at the University of Münster because I was really interested initially into planetary geology and understanding our solar system, how everything started. But soon after that, I understood that the geology on our planet is interesting enough, and that going into the field is a very essential and exciting exercise for a geologist. I learned that you become a geologist in the field, not in the lecture room. So that's why I try to do a lot of field trips, field exercises, and go to other places, study abroad, like in Brazil, or do field trips somewhere else around the world to see how geology looks like in different climate areas, and really understand the processes behind the rocks. And that was very adventurous and brought me to different places, and I learned a lot with that, and that was a really good time.
Well, yeah, guys, it looks like you have been through lots of adventures so far, and I think Ian can keep sharing a little bit how you chose your path
Yeah.
too.
So exactly. So after we spoke a bit, but why do we study geology, and how is it to study geology? And I guess many of also the people in the audience, they could share similar stories. But I think at some point every student comes to the question: so where do I want to go with my career? How do I choose my path, especially in economic geology? And I think something that at least I learned during the early years of my career is that there is no recipe book. So there is no step-by-step guide how to do a career in geology, and how to have success along your career path. And it's more of something: what do you want to do with your life? What is your passion? And for that, I would like to quote two German words. So what does job mean in German, and what does vocation mean in German? Because they're actually connected. So the word job in German is Beruf, and it is derived from the word vocation. So in German, like, we really live for our work, and we put a lot of effort into that. And that's something that I was told as a kid already. Choose your path based on what your passion is. And I don't know, Victor, what about you? Do you share that, or what was your opinion on that?
Yeah, Jan, actually, that's a really interesting point, and really lot of wisdom behind that word, that as we're new generations coming on this business, what we are bringing a lot is a lot of legacy on the mining. When we are doing exploration, it's not like you just go to any place anymore. So, and as well, the challenge on the environment, on the switching to green energy, all of this, it's a huge challenge for our generation, I think, as well. And so it is not easy. That's a consequence. It is not really easy, and we know that there is more challenges. But when you have what Jan just mentioned about the vocation and passion, it's gonna be really, really important. So you can persevere, you can be resilient with that, and just push over those challenges in life. So I think it's essential. But what do you think, Poliana? Do you have some experience as well on this? What is your feeling on the industry and the vocation?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And as you go through industry and you go to conferences and talk to other people, you'll see that each one has a different path. Everyone has something different. It's actually very unusual when someone just goes straightforward, step by step, from undergrad to master's, PhD, or just undergrad and works. Usually people have a break, or they decide to do something, then they change their minds, they work for it. So I totally agree with you. I think you have to be flexible with yourself too, and let it be fun too.
Yeah, and maybe one thing to add also, like if you want to go to mineral exploration, there is no step-by-step guide to do discovery. Like you have to be creative, you have to think out of the box, you have to follow your instincts, you have to understand the geological process, and they are unique for every target that you look at. So there's sort of the career mentality and the discovery mentality in that regard are actually similar. That's at least my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that picture with Gordon Ramsay. Just don't forget the rocks. So it has to be prepared with the rocks, cook with the rocks, and that's basically a good place to start. Yeah, if you like that.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. And so now we understood why you decided to study geology and why you chose the path of economic geology specifically. So it would be really nice to hear a little bit about your first years as a profession. So after you finish your bachelor's, and I think you can keep going from here, Victor, and share a little bit about your early career.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Well, and hopefully, as you're gonna see, we have a wide range of different ways to start it. In my case, I started with a mid-tier company, Iron Gold, and then I was with them like a year and something while I was finishing university. Then I decided, and this is maybe my highlight that helped me a lot on my career, that it will be a recommendation from my side. I started with a junior company, but it was not about the junior or the name. It was more about the mentors I got. And as Jan mentioned, it was a lot about people that it's been related to the field. They have a lot of experience on that. And so that was fundamental. And when they offered me the opportunity, and actually I met them through SCG, field trips and conferences, I knew that being with the correct people early in my career, it will be very fundamental. And as well, the junior, it has the difference that you spend a lot of time on the field and you just have a wide variety of experiences. So you can see there the photo. So we developed a project almost 6 years, a little bit more than 6 years. So we made a discovery there with high grade gold, silver, copper, tourmaline breccias in Peru. But we did from mapping, going underground, reviewing, drilling. We drilled more than 63 kilometers. So it was huge, but it was a great lesson. And because they were really good mentors, they were very worried about me continuing my studies. So they paid my masters when I was with them. It was with Chacana Copper Corporation. So I have to be grateful. And then now I have jumped to another major company in a different position. So that was a good starting of my career on junior company. But what about you, Poliana? What's the story when your early years?
So I started my experience in the internship. I did a really big internship, almost 2 years at Nexa Resources. And I was very lucky because they had a developing program. So in this program, besides doing the geology tasks, drilling programs, mapping the undergrounds or anything, because it was in an underground mine, we also had to interact with the other areas of the mine so you can understand the products that we had to the other areas and how to interact better with them. We also had to develop a project with them. And I was very lucky because I also had really good mentors, managers and coordinators that supported a lot my work there as a student learning the work, how they wanted me to work, and also supported a lot my final thesis for the undergraduation. So it was really good, and I stayed there until I got a job at the exploration team for the same company in the same deposit, but in the brownfield exploration team. So the second picture is me in the middle of the woods in Brazil, because we have a really big vegetal coverture and cover there. And it was really a really good experience in both of them because, as Ian said, in economic geology and exploring ore bodies, you have to be think outside of the box, and the tests there were very dynamic. So we were working mapping, but also looking the geophysics, also studying the geochemistry of the deposit, trying to see that what we could have, where we could have other mineralizations, other styles of mineralizations, and this was very dynamic. And I also had a really good opportunity there to receive some chapters at the project. So the last one is me presenting the deposit for the Paraná student chapter from Brazil. And this is really good because I think it fulfilled me when we can give it back from where we came from. And also I was one of the students, and then I was also presenting it to them. So it was really good. What about you, Ian? How was your experience?
Thanks, Poliana. So we actually have something in common. So my career in economic geology also started at an internship in Brazil that I did after my bachelor's for a couple of months. And for me, that was a very big step in the first big step into mining and mineral exploration. And I had the great opportunity to see a lot of different things and gain valuable experience across like mineral deposits, like ore deposits or industrial minerals. And this experience and the contacts I made during that time, I used later also during my master's to get other assignments in Brazil, go to conferences, meet people. And this network and also the technical knowledge that I was able to obtain helped me to get my first job as a contract geologist in an exploration project in Germany, and also later on get a few more other assignments in Europe. And that was really, yeah, a bit of a domino effect. Like it starts at some point, but then the stones keep on falling, and the career accelerates. But you have to be proactive in the beginning and do a step at some point, and it depends on you and your personal feeling in which direction you want to do that step.
Oh, that's really good. And I actually have a question for all of you, because you come from so many different countries and you have been to so many places. So I would like to know a little bit more about how you deal with the language and culture difference in this aspect. And I think you can keep going from here. Yeah, because I met you back in Brazil a couple of years ago. And
Yes.
I know you have some experience to share about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned the Portuguese language through studying a year abroad in Brazil during my school time. And for me, that was a huge door opener to a new culture and a new continent. And that helped me a lot during my career as an exploration geologist. Not only because I was able to get access to another market and to be able to make more contacts, but this intercultural and experience and the language skills help you also later along your job to communicate with contractors, with your team, make new connections, and this can be very valuable skills that you acquire, and it's up to you. I know people that they said, okay, I want to plan my career in a certain country, and that's why I will specifically learn that language. And it really helps, I think, if besides English, you know at least one other language. How is it about you, Victor?
Hey, yeah, no, I think I can imagine such a challenging thing to learn Portuguese. From German to Portuguese, the English I can understand, but yeah, for us, when this kind of German or Swedish, it can be very challenging, but well done, Jan. For me, I guess, as everybody knows, and in the science, the English has been fundamental. It's been a keystone for us, like developing the career. Since I was working this was a junior, but based in Canada. So we have to do a lot of work and report in English and just communicate. And I think that opens a lot of doors. So I grow up very quickly as well in the organization because I can communicate with the managers, with the CEO directly. So that was a milestone. And as well, just doing reports and then doing the studies on Australia was really fundamental, the English. And then writing in English, that's the next step. So I think once you open that and you can do a thesis, you can do reports. I guess that is one of the other sides. When you can cross the communication barrier and you can communicate, that's perfect, but then you can communicate effectively. So you have to be an effective communicator on what you want to deliver. So in another language, which is challenging. So I think that is the challenges, but once you overcome, you open a lot of new opportunities. And that allows me to go to work to Africa. I've been in a couple of countries in Africa the last 2 years exploring as well. And that really helps. I did speak Portuguese, but at the end of the day, you use the English everywhere in many places as well. And the Spanish, for me, that's been really useful. But now, Polly, now you have the same challenge of the academy as well. And how is that going, the languages on your career, on the studies?
Yeah, so I always like to study languages in general, so I actually can speak 5. And when we are talking in English in the class, practicing is one thing, but talking about geology using technical words, it's a challenge. So what you will notice when you are talking to other people, it's exactly what Ian and Victor said. You have to be clear with the words, speak a little bit slower to make yourself understandable to the others sometimes. And even speaking a lot of languages, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to understand you. So be patient with yourself to try to talk to the others. And as Victor said, sometimes I'm speaking with people in Portuguese or Spanish, which are 2 languages that I speak a lot. But at some point, we don't really find one of the words in our languages and we just run to English or the opposite. So it's actually really fun to be in the conferences here at Codes, for example, too, where you have a lot of different students from different places, and we just do a big mix to understand each other. And at the end, we are also helping each other to understand better. So I would recommend strongly to at least learn English, Spanish, which is another big language in the world. And maybe have the focus that Jan mentioned. If you want to study or work in a specific place, start to learn the language, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just hi, how are you, really basic stuff. People really value that.
Yeah. Thanks very much again for you. This all looks really amazing. As you can see by now, I think everybody noted that we have people in different positions and people that migrated from industry to academia or are actually doing both, like Victor. So I just would like you to share a little bit about that. I think we can again start with Jan. I have a really nice paper here from his master's, I believe.
No, it was
So
my
if
bachelor
you talk
thesis,
a little
actually.
bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like general, I think everybody here really likes science, and I was on a bit on an academia trip when I was about finishing my bachelor's. Really keen to get into all the details of geology. And then I started to work a little bit, and I think everyone has this moment in the early career maybe where you have a sort of click in your head and say, oh, this is really something I like. This is really now, like, this opens a new whole world to me. And everybody has probably this moment for on his personal career. And I had this moment in industry when I really realized, okay, it's not only just core logging and looking at and rocks and not making notes. It's about understanding an entire discovery process and linking everything up. And this was something that for me was fascinating, and I really wanted to go down that rabbit hole and really plan my career in that for the next couple of years, definitely. But so, Victor, I think you were going, in our industry and in academia and going a bit back and forth. Can you share your story?
Yeah. So as Angela mentioned, there is no a specific path, and it's really interesting. That is one. There is no a path, as Jan as well mentioned at the beginning. No recipe. Everything will flow, but at least you have a focus. You have a north, right? So it's very interesting when you have this kind of curiosity for science and exploration. I think at least trigger, because in this economic geology world, you can go for exploration, you can go production or control, mining. So it is as well, you can diversify for other fields, but it is important what is noticed there, what is my path forward always when it comes this kind of clicks. Like on my side, I was on the industry, then we made the discovery, and we have a lot of questions. So that trigger, all right, how do we solve this? And you have to train yourself, because at the end as well, you don't have all the solutions to that. And then that was the second part of maybe my other life on the academia. It was because I met Dave Cook. He is my advisor, so he was very passionate as well, and he loved breccias. I love breccias. He loved copper. I love copper, and he was like, all right, let's gonna do this. This is gonna work. I was in the exploration, but I can get a lot of his knowledge, lessons, and curiosity solved. That sometimes you don't apply everything on real, like in explorations, because it can be very specific. But in my case, I continue with my studies part-time, continue working. And then when I was thinking I was finished, there was an opportunity to continue a part-time PhD. I'm still working on that. But yeah, it was a process that never stopped in my case. Jan maybe stop, work a little bit, then study, then work. Now we're working both in the same company now. But yeah, it can be that position. But as well, I don't know, you, Poliana, maybe have another different experience on that as well.
Yeah, well, I always thought about doing the same as you guys, continuing the two of them together, but then I got this opportunity and I was looking forward to universities that had a really good interaction with industry, because I really like applied geology. But I think that you can try and experiment things and then decide and rethink. For example, I did a really small internship in the an environmental company, then that wasn't for me. And then I was in the mine for so long on the undergrounds that I thought I was going to be a mine geologist forever. And then I got a position. It was my first job, and the first thing that was offered to me was to be in the exploration team, and I really loved it. But now I'm in academy, so it's good to experiment and then try to understand what to want, talk to the others, maybe have a mentor, try to figure it out. At some point, it might take years, but it's good to also experiment and try other things, maybe think outside of the box, create your own path.
Yeah. And maybe one thing to add there is just the SCG, how it has triggered maybe all of those posters that we are showing there on the images. Mm-hmm. That is being from the SCG conferences. So as well, that trigger when we go to the conferences, like with that help when you are in these existential moments of what you're gonna do forward, that kind of networks and places is very beneficial, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And because you're actually talking about SCG, Victor, we now have our fine discussion point, that is how SCG played a key role in your career development. In my case, for example, my first international experience was a student field trip with SCG. Before that, I was just in Brazil. I just knew the Brazilian geologists, so I know how it can be a life-changing. But how about you, Poliana? You had so many experience with the student chapters, field trips, and other things in South America.
When I was in my student chapter, one thing that I really liked was that we were able to connect to a lot of different professionals and also make field trips with people from different chapters or with our own chapter, do some workshops, some courses too. And I was a representative of South America for some years too, for the students committee, and the interaction with each other was really nice. So enjoyed that. I also got my scientific initiation by being in the student chapter too. I got to visit the mine that I started working after a trip that I went there with the student chapter. And I also had the opportunity of doing a field trip to New Mexico last year to do the mapping course for SCG, because we have a lot of courses during the year, like the mapping course and also during the conference.
Yeah, that's great. And one good thing to highlight for the ones that don't know, all these student field trips that SCG offers, they also provide financial support, which is really helpful. And maybe it's going to be the reason why you can actually join the opportunity. And what about you, Jan? How was that and the networking you did through SCG?
Yeah, SCG, I joined SCG when I started my master's in economic geology at the University of Freiburg in Germany. And the SCG student chapter and the activities organized by the chapter locally in Germany or in Europe, but also on an international base, really helped me to build a network and get in touch with people. I remember many situations where I was really surprised that so many people from the industry come on these field trips, and you can just talk to them and they're happy to help you out and answer your questions. And this really helped to me. And I also learned that it's not only of building a network, it's also you have to take care of your network. So stay in touch with these people, stay in touch with your professors university as well. Maybe at some point they can help you out if you are interested in a PhD or something similar. So this is a very important point, that the networks. To put it in a nutshell, I think at university I learned a lot of the basics about geology and how to understand rocks, but through the SCG I got a lot of exposure to practical, or to put this knowledge into practice and to build a network. And probably these are three components are key components to every career, or to every career start, let's put it like that.
No, that's really good. Yeah. And now, Victor, can you share a little bit about the mentoring program? I know you are working with them, so you can explain a little bit to our audience what you can do with that too.
Oh yeah, and that's actually a good point. And now I'm part of the program because I think that was the key part of my development and opening opportunities. It was basically I get some guidance from people that already been on that path. Of course, the things around and the environment has changed, but it was very fundamental. But an example is I just met Jan on January that I joined Anglo American. I just met and we were talking, and then suddenly we realized that we met a same mentor from the SCG for many years. That it was very, very important for our career development. So that was through the SCG, and we both are on similar kind of positions, but doing in different continents, but we get to share things as well. But we're kind of the same team at the end of Discovery Team, the global Discovery Team now, but it is just our passions and everything. But the SCG kind of focus us to this point. We have completely different backgrounds and lives, but now we're kind of in a path, like as a team, right? As a global team. So that's kind of the mentorship, how it works. And just to let know everybody, on the SCG conferences we are running since Colorado, like a program that we join a mentor with a mentee, so we can track that along the conference, and we're trying to do the step forward on that so we can get the most of it. And maybe as well just highlight the research grants that is, like we were talking with some organizers of this from the SCG, and I feel it myself when I started the SCG until like the years go on. This was like the golden era for the SCG. There is a lot of student grants, research grants, field works, many things going on that it just can boost the careers of everybody. So I think all these programs has a huge impact on or could have a huge impact on our lives.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really great, Victor. And just a little bit, because you mentioned the conference. So we have this conference happening in Namibia. We have a conference every year. This year is going to be in late September, and I'm going to be there, and probably all the people in this panel are going to be there in person. And we are going to have civic clinics, roundtable discussions. So if you have the chance to join us in Namibia, it will be really great. And another thing, this is the map with all the student chapters that we currently have with SCG. So feel free to reach any of them that is closer to where you are living. If you are interested on that, but for some reason you don't have a chapter in your country, please let us know. Reach us out through our email and webpage, and we can help you with that. And just some final recommendations. So for that one, I'm going to leave to you guys. So you want to keep going, Victor?
Yep. No, as we highlighted, and hopefully we have delivered the message and tell our stories and our experiences, at least so to highlight how important it can be the network and mentorship along the process of building a successful career, which successful is relative to each person. So hopefully that is a highlight on the talk. You, Jan?
Yeah, fully agree. And I think it's all about kind of get out of your comfort zone, be resilient, and be open to new changes. I think there's different ways how to plan a career, and it's really up to you. If you want to kind of have a step, like plan your own career from the very start and say, okay, I want to be in the copper business, I want to be in the gold business, or you can do it like that, or just do it as you feel it. I think it's really up to you and how you are, and just be yourself. Don't look necessarily for the successful career paths of others and try to mimic that. I think you need to find your role in the world of economic geology and mineral exploration. And if you do that, you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you guys. I have a mentor from SCG, Stephen Anders. And we had a meeting one time before I accepted the PhD opportunity, and he told me that our career and actually our lives are like hurdle runs. And for those who don't know what it is, it's like runs with obstacles. And he told me, you can run and you can be really fast, but to reach your goals, you have to go through each one of the obstacles, each one of the hurdles. And I truly believe on that. So don't be ashamed about the age difference. Don't be afraid to take a step back. Don't be afraid to be different in the industry. Just be yourself, create your own path, create something that you're happy in the path to your goal.
Probably, I mean, one thing to add, don't be afraid of failures.
Yeah.
Mineral exploration is about failure. So if you can't deal with failures, maybe you should look for a different job. So just, have that in mind as well. Don't let failures bring you down.
Yeah, and as it says there, I think it's more than getting to the point. It's like enjoying the journey. So this is a long journey, and it is very fun. So I think it's very important to have fun and enjoy the journey, which has ups and downs. So yeah, that's don't forget that. Hopefully, I think we have a lot of fun, like as well on this journey, on the conferences, on the teams, on the tents, on the mines. So yeah, I think it can be fun as well on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Pretty good. No, thanks, guys. I'm having lots of fun and enjoying getting to know each one of you, SCG, and our work together. But now we come to your questions and answer session for the panel. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so we can actually see each other and see the questions that we may have. Yeah, all good? I'm back? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So we actually have six questions on the panel. I'm going to go through the order here. The first one is from Giovanni França is in Portuguese. I'm going to try to do the on-time translation for that. But he's asking, he's on the last year of his geology course in the University of São Paulo, and he's not being able to get an internship in economic geology. So he's asking us, what is the relevance of an internship to get a job as a junior geologist in the future?
Well, I think that if you don't have experience in an internship, you might have experience in other things. For example, in the student chapter, being a treasurer, or when I actually think that any experience counts. If you know how to explain to them how you can add to the team with that, for example, selling things, it's some experience, and you can use that.
Yeah, good. I think I'm just gonna, because Giovanni is probably here, I'm just gonna do a short translation back to Portuguese now, Poliana. So, Giovanni, o que a Poliana está dizendo é, se você não conseguiu estágio, nós realmente sabemos que é muito difícil, qualquer tipo de interação com o Student Chapter, as oportunidades da SEG ou de congressos e tentar construir seu networking com as pessoas que estão no mercado de mineração fazem muita diferença. Particularmente, foi muito difícil para mim conseguir um estágio também, mas por causa das experiências com a SEG, meu TCC em Geologia Econômica, que eu fiz também na Universidade de São Paulo com a professora Helena, fizeram uma grande diferença. E o inglês realmente também foi muito, muito importante.
Sim, e
So,
qualquer
going back
experiência
to-
também conta.
Yeah. Going back to the English, we have a second question in Spanish, Victor. I think this one you can help with. Yeah, you can go with that one.
Yeah. So basically, the question is: there is limited opportunities on exploration in Mexico. So is it convenient to find an opportunity like jobs outside Mexico without having a broad experience? So I'm gonna just answer very quickly in English and then in Spanish. In English, well, of course you can find you can apply for jobs if you can outside for sure. Although it's gonna be difficult to get sometimes good positions, we all know that is challenging without a lot of experiences and the programs are limited. And already there is a lot of undergrads coming students to the market. So it is difficult to do that. If you know that you like this, and as we explained, it's not easy, but you have to differentiate yourself a little bit. Like you should get like maybe a further specialization sometimes and just connect. You just have to be more active because the opportunities are there. But you just have to try to be more active on the SCG, on a master's, a quick diploma, a quick study that you know that you're gonna broaden your network, and as well you're gonna show your value. That's important. You have to show yourself, so you can actually get an opportunity, maybe in academia for 2 years, and then you jump up to a company. But that's kind of what you have to show your value and show that you are good on that, and you are keen on learning. So that is the answer in Spanish very quickly. It is a veces es difícil, entendemos que con poca experiencia puede ser difícil el tener algo exitoso rápidamente, pero tienes que ser paciente y diferenciarte, mostrar tu valor hacia el mercado de geología económica y especializarte y crear network. Y en los network, pequeños cursos, masters o este tipo de programas que te ayuden a mostrarte, y si no tienes todo el conocimiento está bien, no lo tenemos, pero mostrar también que tienes todas las ganas, toda la pasión de aprender, y por ahí va a salir siempre la oportunidad. Solo perseverar en eso y oportunidades hay.
Oh, yeah, gracias, Victor. Just a quick thing, guys. I'm seeing lots of questions on the chat, and please do that through the Q&A, the questions and answer button, because this is the one we are actually looking out to reply to you. So the third question is in English, so maybe you can go for this one. The question is, what are the biggest challenges currently facing the field of economic geology? It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. It's a very wide one. So maybe I'll just try to answer it in a way how I understand it. So I think it's a complex challenge that we are facing, and it's definitely we us as geologists or in economic geology, we have to guarantee or the future supply for metals of our global society. And the challenge, I think, is to find those and to secure the future demand and bring those into production. And because that's another big challenge. So it's not only finding a mineral deposit. The job is not done yet. Then you need to have a plan how to develop it in accordance with environmental standards, involve local communities, and be proactive on these items early on, because there's a kind of an in-ground risk and above-ground risk in mineral or economic geology and in mineral exploration. And the in-ground risk is all about rocks, and this is something that we have no control on. These deposits have been formed millions of years ago, but we can manage the above-ground risks, and this is something that we have to work on. I think that's besides the geological part, that is a big challenge in economic geology. And maybe to add one further item, we also have to think about new ways how to explore, and this is where also the link to science comes in. How can we utilize academic studies or in general scientific studies to support mineral exploration and to enhance or speed up discoveries and be more smart about things.
Thanks, Jan. The next question is also in English, and it's, in your opinion, where are the best countries to start and develop a career in economic geology? It's another tricky one. I don't know if I could say one specific country. I did that in Brazil, and I actually really love it, and now I'm in Australia. But what are your thoughts?
That's a good question. I will just answer directly. More opportunities you have in Australia, for sure. We study there. There is a lot of opportunities right now in opportunities and studies. And I think that's the premier maybe country, and then Canada, and then South America, some countries like Peru or Brazil or Chile. There is not a lot of opportunities, but it's a balance of a lot of outcrop. So a lot of lessons.
Yeah, probably go somewhere where you can see a lot of rocks. And ideally, there is a bunch of companies around as well. And probably, I think it's easier to start your career in a junior company, and you will learn a lot there because it's usually small dynamic teams where you can, you can grow into the team quite rapidly and bring in value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good. And please, if you're thinking about working or study outside your country, don't forget about the language and culture. If you can actually learn a little bit about that, it can be a life-changing. Sometimes even in your country, some companies require you to have English, for example. This happened to me. So it can open some opportunities for you. Yeah. The next one is from José Carlos Davila. So hi, I'm José Carlos, graduate from PUC in Peru. I think it's your university, maybe. Victor, I've had some difficulty finding any graduate program focused on exploration, economic geology. Opportunities in these fields are scarce, but I managed to get hired as part of the ore control team in a major mining operation in the country. He's planning to pursue a master's degree in economic geology to focus his career on that field. And then the question is, will not having exploration work experience limit me in any way? So like if he has no opportunity, no working experience, then going to the master, how that can be a limitation for him in the future?
What I understand is like he got a manager hired as part of the org control team. The short answer is no, because having that experience, it will add to the application for the master's or PhD program. So I think that's great. Just stay, learn a little bit longer about that, so you are getting more experience, and then that will add to your application. So that doesn't matter if you don't have exploration, like just exploration experience.
Mhm.
I don't know if somebody else has another comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Victor. Like any experience, and you have seen rocks and you have worked with them, so you actually have experience.
Yeah, it looks like you have a really good profile, actually, Jose, so I wouldn't be afraid of that. And moving, so we have Isaac. He's just sharing a little bit about his professional skills. So if you guys that are in industry can give a check to that. But I'm gonna move to Yamila Pari. She's saying thank you all for sharing your experience. And then she's asking us, what would be your advice when writing a paper? I'm on that path actually, Amila, but Jan has already wrote a paper, so maybe he can talk a little bit more about that.
What I learned from my academic supervisors is like have a clear chain of arguments and for what you want to explain to others. And good figures is always good.
Yeah.
And Yamila, I think there's an online video. I'm not sure if it's from ICG or Deposits Hub from Maynard about how to write a paper. It's a long one. It's easy to find if you type on YouTube, and I think it can be helpful for you because he's truly an expert on that. So anyway, I think it's another thing you could check.
And maybe get as an example papers that you think there are high quality. Just look for it, how they built it, and try to do the same.
Yeah. The next question is from Nicholas. So he's going to be a sophomore in geological engineering. Do you think it's important to take mining classes and understand mining engineering? I think both of you, Victor and Poliana, had experience with more of the mining stuff. If you can.
I think it will be good because then he will have more knowledge about the mining activities and understand more the other areas about from the mine side. But if you don't, I think it's okay too. But if you can, I would go.
Yeah, no, it will give you a lot of chances. It will give you extra opportunities. And one thing in the future, and this is just talking on the future, if you are planning to focus yourself, like be CEO, general manager, country manager of a major company, normally geologists, we don't get to those positions. Like you have to have a background with engineers and mine, a lot of experience as well in mining, because the production is what pays the company, is the cash flow. So if you have that profile as well, it will boost your career.
Yeah, thanks. The next one is from Musi about where in Africa we have student chapters, but Augusto already replied. Thank you. And then Augusto is making a question regarding opening a student chapter. What kinds of activities does a SCG student chapter organize? How often can the chapter invite SCG mentors or other specialists for workshops and related chapter activities? Polly, you were on the student committee until recently, so maybe you can share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the student chapters can get really creative in what are the activities that they really do, but usually they work in lectures for the university, for their own chapter, courses, workshops. They plan field trips too, but you can do that outside of the student chapter, expand it to the whole university, include other universities, and also interact a lot with industry. So for example, here at Codes, the student chapter have a good relationship with industry members, and they invite them to the field trips in a way that can also gather money for their own chapter, for the chapter activities, so they can help the students too. So that's another activity. And the other question, how often? Well, you can invite SCG mentors as you want. SCG has a big list on their website, and depending on their disponibility, you can schedule some lectures with them, some courses. Sometimes they are able to go to your country, which is really nice, but they can also work online. So don't worry about that. And if they are not there, if you want to invite someone that is not there on the list of the SCG mentors, you can also always invite someone that you know that have a good experience in academy, in industry, and maybe other students too. You can also invite and talk with us with us from the committees, the students committee and the early career committee. We can make a small lecture about SCG, how the student chapters work. We can also help you building or creating a new student chapter. So feel free to reach us out.
Yeah, thank you, Polly. Guys, just technically we are on the end of the webinar, and we should have another 3 questions. It's fine for you if we go a little bit more, and then we finish all of them maybe. Yeah? So Samar's asking how, it's a broad question, but how can I find opportunities in the world to develop my career? We have been talking about SCG a lot, so that's one of the main things we mentioned to you, but maybe you know other ways that he could do that, other societies that could help him. But SCG for sure is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just reach out to people, like go to, it doesn't have to be SCG, it can be, as Angela said, other societies, but go to conferences, talk to people, maybe find like-minded people nearby where you are, like students, and maybe you like co-students, and you can organize something together. But I think you just go out to the world, and the world will respond you with opportunities.
Okay. And now we have one from Felix. I was reading that one, and it's one of the things I'm mostly keen on trying to work better. But basically, Felix is from Ivory Coast, French country, currently doing his PhD in Nigeria with lithium-bearing pegmatites. He is a French speaker primarily, and sometimes he's applying for international congress and field trips, but he fails because of language challenge. So how can we actually afford that?
Yeah. So maybe I can jump on that, and it is actually when I first applied to the SCG, because it was not common as well from Peru. When I was in Peru, Chile, not a lot of research going on. There was one little research that it was going on pegmatites actually. So it was a light rare earth elements in pegmatites and in allanite. It was a mineral. But anyway, I just structured the paper, did a poster. Well, we just did the research, some geochemical analysis, good mapping, and those kind of things. And then I structured a poster, and it was an abstract. But then I submitted, before submitting to the SCG, I sent it to my advisor in Chile, that he did his PhD in Queens. So he reviewed it and he enhanced it amazingly. So it was like somebody that has a lot of experience, just give it pegmatites, lithium pegmatites, it is a good theme, I guess, nowadays, and more with the green energy transition. But just try to give to somebody that is very well known on writing, on Congress, on this kind of things, and that will give you a huge opportunity. So just give it to somebody to review it, before submit it.
And about the participation, Felix, for example, for conference, when it's a big one, they normally have these systems with microphone and translation ongoing. So maybe you could reach out to the people and say that for you it would be really important to have the French. And for field trips, for example, in SCG, normally the mentors and the leaders, they speak more than one language. So it's something that you could check. When I participated on the SCG field trip, we had a case like that, a person that spoke mostly Spanish. And he was able to do that normally because one of the mentors was speaking Spanish and English, so he could help him. And then I think this maybe can be the last one. And so Miguel Gonzalez is saying, thank you for all the tips. He's from Cusco, Peru, and also very interested in developing his career in economic geology, but he's finding really hard to find a job. So what would be the advices for that, or even to apply to other countries if he's not finding in his own country?
Yeah, I think we already kind of answered this, and
Yeah.
it is basically just first enhance your career and show your maybe your what you are good for and that you are keen to learn. But as well, if you can do an extra study that gives you that exposure, basically, that is the easy way to go to other countries. If not, it's very difficult. So you have to just do that and then show that you want to learn, you are keen to learn, and yeah, just enhance yourself and
Thank you.
persevere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do some networking too.
Yeah. There's a final one, Nicholas. I think I can answer that one quickly for you, because he's asking us, do you feel confined to exploration geology, or do you feel you could go work for a geotech company or ground water energy engineering? And for sure, for example, I started with mine geology, grade control, more the operations side. Poliana did the same on her internship. And I have friends that they pursued economic geology, but they are doing their specializations on geotech issues, on minings or wastes and things like that. So it's really open. If you feel you need some training or some other type of technical webinar about that, it's something you can reach us, and we can try to organize you. It's not just about exploration when we talk about economic geology. You can do different things.
And you can build your path towards the other position that you want. So I knew this geologist, and she was working in the environmental area in companies, and she really wanted to change to exploration geology. So she started taking courses, talking about geochemistry in LinkedIn, just creating posts about it. And she got noticed, and she got a job on the exploration team. So you can work towards the new position that you want. You don't need to be stuck to that forever.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for answering all these questions and going a little bit over the time. But now I think we are ending our webinar. We just have a final slides to wrap up, and then we can say bye to our audience, unfortunately, for today. So just a little bit more about some programs. For the ones that don't know, we have a podcast with SCG that is called Discover to Recover. The current season is sponsored by Anglo American. You can check that. It's several talks, normally 1 hour talk about mining with experts, different professionals in different topics. And you can access that in our website, also on Spotify. It has been a really successful program. And if you want to work with that or have an idea about a person or a topic to be discussed, please also contact us. And we're talking about the Namibia conference. So please, if you have the chance to go, it's going to be amazing. The applications are still open. You can contact the chairs of the conference or SCG for that. And the teams are focused on the transition, the energy transition. It's the hot topic for the future. It's one of the things we are trying to figure out and support with economic geology. But we also have some highlights, for example, about the African deposits, which I'm really excited to see. And that's all for today. So thank you very much. Obrigado, gracias. And the German one, I leave for Jan to say.
Let's say Glück auf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you all the panelists also for the support, and Duncan that is on the background helping us. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.